welcome to Ridiculously Serious, a show where we draft teams from absolutely ridiculous categories and have a completely serious debate about them. My name is Mike, and I'm your host. As always, I'm joined by my co-hosts Joe and Brandy. So, Joe, we will kick things off with you as we always do, learning a little bit more about your amazingly interesting life. So tell me, or I will actually tell you, that you've been given the opportunity to make a single change to any sport. No holds barred. You could change any one single thing that you'd like. You can add something. You can take it away. You can change a rule, whatever you'd like. Which sport do you choose and what do you change?
All right, so I'm a pretty big, I'm like a medium sports fan, I generally like watching sports. I enjoy it. I really only follow football ever. But I thought about hockey and how much I love hockey. And the sport that I'm not going to change is not hockey. It's actually tennis. I'm going to add the best part about hockey to tennis, and that's the fights. So, yeah, fighting in tennis is now allowed. You can basically, just as in baseball, you charge the mound, you charge the net. You end up coming over. Now, you have to stay on your side of the net in this situation. So you can't be like tackling anybody or anything, but you can walk up to the net, the other player approaches the net, and you guys can kind of like box it out for a few minutes until it's broken up.
So that does require both parties to want to fight at the same time, though.
Yeah, consensual.
Sure, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like a lot of times in hockey, not that it's not consensual, but I feel like a lot of times in hockey, like, if you get punched, like, you're pretty much forced to respond at that point. But, in tennis, it actually, to be honest, it might actually be equally funny to see somebody like angrily strut up to the net and the opponent's just like, nah, and they just like hang out in the back, and the person's like, he's just waiting at the net like, yo, I'm up here, come fight me, and the guy's like, nah.
Yeah, the only thing I'd be concerned about is that like John McEnroe would come out of retirement just for this one thing because he would just want to fight people.
That is a you know what? That's definitely got a lot of different avenues that you could explore or be entertained by. So I dig it. I think that would be a very interesting addition. It'd be interesting to see like the strategy around it too. Like, when would you use the fight? Like, would you use it when you're down big to try to like swing momentum? Would you use it in like a close, match to like try to, get under your opponent's skin? Like, there's a whole, strategy to it.
Yeah, I figure like it would probably be most used when I don't know if there's a name for this kind of play, but like when your opponent makes you run back and forth and then they just like tap it barely over over the net, and it just like flops down, and you're just like, you get so pissed off because there's no way you could have gotten there in time because they just barely hit it over, and you're just mad. You charge the net. I'm gonna coin this term, charge the net. I'm gonna start
charge the net. That's good. I like it. All right, so that was definitely a good start. It was a good answer. Brandy, moving on to your question. Again, I'm going to tell you something first. There was a theme, I guess, this week. The Queen of England has invited you to dinner, but you have to provide dessert. What do you bring?
I will be bringing a chocolate biscuit cake, because I Googled and found out that is her favorite thing. And also another added layer to that, this article came from a previous personal chef that she used to have, Darren McGrady, who now lives in the States, or resides in the States, whatever, in Texas. So if I could somehow physically get this man specifically to make this cake so that I could bring it, hopefully she'll be so happy and so delightful that she'll just give me a bunch of money. And that's my experience with the Queen.
That's a good strategy. So to our listeners that aren't familiar with the British side of English language, I believe, I can only assume that a chocolate biscuit cake is what we refer to as a chocolate cookie cake. I would assume she's not putting like, doughy biscuits.
No, I think there's like actual biscuits in it. Like their type of biscuits, like hard, crunchy.
Well, British biscuits are cookies. That's why I said that, because like what we call biscuits, they do not call biscuits.
Yes.
They call cookies biscuits.
When you said cookie cake, I envisioned an American cookie
Oh,
cake.
like the shore. Yeah. That
Like,
makes, yeah.
yes. Yeah.
No,
and I was
like-
like, I don't even think they have those.
No, like a cake with like bits of chocolate cookie in it. Is what I'm referring to, just because they call cookies biscuits, so that's what I would assume. Also, I like that you went like the sucking up route. You're like, I'm not gonna bring what I want. I'm not gonna bring like a cool dessert. I'm gonna find out the queen's favorite dessert. I'm gonna bring exactly
and then do it
that
all the way up. It gives me anxiety if I'm like, I'm gonna bring a thing that I like, and then like nobody eats it. So I just went the complete opposite. I just avoided that entirely.
Makes sense. I dig it.
Can you imagine going to the royal family's house and being like, hey, I brought this thing, and they're like, that's disgusting.
Yeah, that would probably not end well for you.
No.
I don't even know, hopefully I feel like getting kicked out would be like the worst or the best case scenario, you know what I mean? Like it is, the royal family, so, who knows? Yeah. Bad things could happen.
At any moment.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next segment of the show, which is recapping last week's winner or announcing last week's winner. If you missed it, we drafted dinosaur armies. This is the part where I make Joe and Brandy hate me for a second, because we are going to find out who created the biggest Jurassic spark and left their Jurassic mark. I'm just going to let that one...
I quit.
I'm just going to let that one linger for like
not
a
even
solid...
gonna dignify it with a response.
Solid 3 to 5 seconds. I'll just kind of let it sit out there and let you guys enjoy it. Well, the winner of our wonderful trip back in time is Brandy. Brandy was the winner.
Oh.
People like the powerhouse dinosaurs.
Yeah, they're dinosaurs.
The people like big dinosaurs.
Yeah, they like big dinosaurs. That's what everybody loves. They want to see them rip shit up.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It's fair. It was a good strategy. Like I said, we all kind of had a different strategy, and the people agreed with Brandy. Just get a bunch of big chonkers in there, and you're set. You don't need strategy. You don't need anything. Just big old chonker boys.
Yep.
That's it. That's all it is. So congratulations to Brandy.
Congratulations to myself.
So when we get to the picking the draft order part, you will get to go first. I believe for the first time, right? I think this is the first time you won since I changed that system?
Probably. It's been a couple weeks.
Been a hot minute. All right. So this week, we're going back in time 500 years, and we're drafting the best simple things that we could bring that would absolutely blow people's minds. Again, there's no rules this week. It'll be on voters to decide once again. But just as an example of what we're looking for, though, the way I explained it to my fellow hosts is that bringing a cell phone wouldn't be a good answer. That's not really what we're looking for, because as basic as phones are to us nowadays, they're still an extremely advanced piece of technology. So what we're looking for is stuff that is even back then would be really simple and basic. It's just still would blow their minds because they don't have it yet. So that's kind of what we're looking for when I say basic or simple. So let's go ahead and determine that draft order. Like I said, Brandy, you get the first choice of numbers.
Yes. It's 62.
62. Joe, go ahead.
13.
I have a good feeling about 86.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the last time the Mets won the World Series. So even though I'm not a huge, baseball guy anymore, I was growing up, and we're gonna ride with the Mets. So in traditional Mets fashion, they fucked it up horribly, and I'll go last. The number is 46. So I believe that is Brandy, then Joe, then me as far as choices. So thank you, Mets. Brandy, go ahead.
Second.
All right, Joe, you want first or third?
Oh, I'll take the wraparound. Third.
All right, I'm actually pretty happy with first because I struggled a little bit initially, but then I ended up picking some things that I think we might have a little bit of overlap maybe. So I think I'm actually kind of happy to get the first pick. So that worked out pretty well, I think. So, all right, so I will get things kicked off with that first pick that you guys have bestowed upon me. And I am going to go with one that I might actually have to downgrade a little bit. I think it's still pretty basic because it's just one kind of piece of, engineering. But I would like to say a lighter. I'm going to go with a lighter for my first pick. So I had like lighter / matches in case like the mechanism of a lighter was maybe a little too advanced. But I think it's pretty basic. You're just kind of flicking the thing. I think that's pretty simple.
I agree.
Matches existed 500 years ago.
Not like today's matches, though. Did they?
I'm pretty sure they have been around for beyond 500 years.
You actually probably... No, I think you probably are right. They probably weren't like
a lighter is a great pick. I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, so anyways, so I'll stick with lighter.
I had lighter second on my list. I did not think that was going to go. If I went first, I would have taken lighter. So I probably should have done that.
Now I'm glad I got the first pick. Just think about like... They needed fire for everything back then. Like cooking, cleaning, heat, like everything was just fire-based. So if you could just rock up to the party and be like, especially too. So part of what I thought of was I wanted some things on my list that had like a solid like 80-20 chance to get me stoned to death. So like, I feel like if you just kind of roll up to somebody and you hide the lighter behind your hand, and you just and you just have fire like come out of the top of your hand, like there's a good chance you're getting burnt at the stake. So
hey, check this out.
So it's a combination of like I could show them the lighter and they would be like absolutely amazed, or I could like hide the lighter and just make the fire and potentially be killed. But it would be like a cool way to go. So that I think is a solid all encompassing. I think it was definitely worthy of my first overall pick. I think it's a very solid, round one, pick one. So I will go lighter because everybody loves fire. So go ahead, Brandy. You can make your first pick.
Yeah. I'm kind of upset because I really wanted lighter. I really liked that one because it's just so useful. Going with something that's not super, I don't think as everyday useful, yes, but not as multi-use as a lighter. I'm gonna go with toilet paper.
Sure.
Because I imagine just coming back and being like, have y'all tried this? And they're like, oh, we've been just using this dirty rag the whole time. We have to keep washing this thing. And you're like, well, what if you didn't have to? Like, I imagine everybody would get on board very quickly with that. Sure. Even in that time period.
Yeah, absolutely. That definitely makes sense. I thought of like toilets in a way. I figured that might be a little too advanced, but I mean, I know they had toilets, but I'm saying like present day toilets because they're not too advanced, but like probably a little bit more than basic. But like, imagine if you could tell people 500 years ago, but like, listen, you do your business and then it's just gone. It just disappears. Which
even still, I like here it says first modern flushable toilet was described in 1596. Not far after. So if you like roll up with the toilet paper, and then not far after, like flushable toilets are around. Like everybody's just making progress. I
mean, they had toilets back then, but I'm pretty sure it was only like the nobility. Like I'm pretty sure only like in the castles and stuff did they have like, and they didn't flush. They just went down into like the sewer or whatever. They just your poo just kind of went away. but I think that was only in like the nobility. Like I think the common folk pretty much were on the bucket out the window system, which probably didn't make the parades too nice for Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Those parades were probably a little iffy.
I imagine they probably had a system of like no dumping your shit bucket on parade day.
Maybe not.
Who knows what their shit system was. No, that's good. Toilet paper, that's definitely another good one. All right, Joe, you have your first wraparound.
All right, I was kind of worried that this one was going to be gone if I went third, because I did really want it, because I think this one is like would be absolutely mind blowing, and we just take this for granted as something that I certainly touch it every single day. I think almost everyone touches this every single day. Mike, don't give me that face.
Are we doing phrasing?
Phrasing.
Yeah, phrasing. Plastic. literally plastic of any sort did not exist till the 1900s.
We're going back in time to amaze people, and Joe's like, how can I fuck up the planet just a little bit more? Let's start plastic.
Even sooner.
Let's start plastic pollution about 400 years earlier. That's Joe's strategy.
I didn't say that. I didn't say it's a good thing, but plastic. No one back then had ever seen plastic, and it's in literally everything now.
I just picture Joe going back in time to like a banquet at like, you know, the castle or whatever. It'd just be like, oh, you guys have some leftover boar. You know what you could do with that? Bam! Tupperware. What size, like a freaking mom at like a, you know, the party where they sell like the you know, the out of the magazine they used to do, you know, back in like the 90s.
Oh my God.
I know my mom
like
always had those
parties.
Yeah. Joe would just turn up, be like, I got all he opens his trench coat, I got all the sizes. Tupperware for days. What do you need? Also, am I the only one that uses Tupperware that's about 97 times too big for what they need it for? Like with that, like
no,
I do it.
Yeah, see,
I don't do that. I always try to find the smallest one possible, and then I run into the problem where I put all the stuff in and it's just a little bit too small, and now I have to clean another Tupperware because I'm an idiot.
If I can find the Tupperware and a lid and it's gonna fit in, I'm good. It could be ginormous, way too big, or vice versa.
My wife always, you know, picks the right size. Like she gets this, you know, she gets the smallest size where it still fits comfortably. I have like, you know, a little bit of like broccoli, and I pick one out that's like a whole like ham roast size, like where it's like, it'll fit in here, whatever, good enough.
3 pieces of broccoli.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Why is this giant Tupperware taking up a whole shelf?" And I'm like, "Oh, because I had like 3 pieces of broccoli left. You know, what was I gonna do?"
What do you mean? It's terrible. That would drive me insane.
No, it's not good. All right, so no, plastic is you know, as much as I joke about polluting the oceans. It's definitely a good answer. It's definitely something that would blow their minds, especially the Tupperware part, I think. All right, so go ahead. You have your second pick now, Joe.
Yeah, so this one really surprised me that this had not been invented prior. You know, certain forms of it had been around, but the version that we have today has only been around since the 1800s, and that's a mirror.
Okay.
You know, prior to the 1800s, you know, it wasn't clear. You could see things, but you couldn't see it clearly. Whereas, like, you know, mirrors in the modern era since the 1800s, you see yourself in the mirror as clearly as someone else sees you.
Sure.
And I think that would shock people that had never really seen that before. Because if you look at your reflection in water or metal or something, it's distorted. Especially metal back then was not nearly as gloss as metal today.
Sure.
So, yeah, I thought that'd be a great one. Just because seeing yourself for the first time would be mind blowing, and that's what you asked for here.
No, that's pretty good. That's definitely, you're right. It's definitely something that I think would shock people. So definitely makes sense on that
Depending
front.
on how ugly they are.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking in my head. That was the thought process of like you showing it to somebody who had legit never seen themselves before, and then just ruining their day. You know, like they just take a look in the mirror, like, oh my God, I'm hideous. Like I wish I never knew what this magic contraption was. I would have been better off. Ignorance is bliss.
Right, and I gotta think
the first case of depression.
I gotta think that people back then, you know, we're talking 500 years ago, 1500s, any sort of a mirror-like material, like I said, would be much lower quality than what we have today. And they would probably be only obtainable by people with money. I don't think that the average person has mirror.
It's kind of funny, actually, now that you think about it like that, because if you were like a peasant in the old times, you're right, you probably didn't have access to anything like that. And you probably, sadly, you probably didn't even have water clear enough and clean enough to like actually see yourself, you know. So
that water was just way cleaner back then.
Well, not if you didn't live by the water. Like like not everybody lived by a lake or an ocean or something. You know, if you were inland, what water source did you really have other than like a well? You weren't going to see down into a well from that far, you know, like, so, but anyway, my thought process is like, or the thought that I had is like, you basically had no idea if you were good looking or not, other than like how people treated you.
Sure.
Like that was your sole, because nowadays, if you're like an actual honest person, not that you would be, but like if you're a person who is comfortable with like a self-assessment and like kind of honest in that sense, like you can look at yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah, I'm not really that good looking, or like, yeah, I'm, you know, very attractive, like that just is the case, you know. But back then it was kind of more so how you were treated, I would assume, like how, you know, if people thought you were attractive.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to think about, because they do, you know, they coin that term like pretty privilege, like, you know, people that are prettier get treated more differently, but then it's also like a matter of like maybe they were just a really cool person, and then, you know, that just raised their confidence level. We got to get back to that.
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
Treating nice people nice so they love them.
Just gonna start being mean to everyone.
That's I was just gonna say that's what I already do.
Bring everybody down a peg to the same level.
Yeah. No, I mean everyone's beneath me, so that's kind of how I go through life. It's just the easiest way to do it.
Good way to do it.
All right, so Joe has his wraparound picks. Brandy, go ahead with your second pick.
Yes. So once again, this is a thing that had like versions of it prior, but this specific version is what I want to bring back. And correct me if I say this wrong, because I just woke up from a nap and I am terribly stupid. I want to bring back 4-tine forks. Like they're tines, right? The little pokey parts.
Sure. Yeah. The pokey. I prefer 4 pokey part forks.
4 pokey part fork. Yeah. Because prior to that, they mostly had like 2, where it was like, you know, and I feel like that's
pitchfork.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, cool. You can kind of pick stuff up with it, but you can't like scoop. You have to use a whole separate utensil to do scooping.
I just want to say,
I know, Joe. I know. I was thinking of, in my head, I was thinking of something different, but I said pitchfork for some reason, and then immediately realized that's not what I was thinking about, because that has 3. Yeah. Well, the very basic ones from the older times have 3.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of a different thing, and I just said the wrong thing. But yeah, so
what are those called?
What called?
The ones with 2.
That's why I didn't say that word, because I couldn't remember what it was called. Like I was picturing it in my head.
Okay.
Like I can picture it in my head, I just don't know what you'd call it. Is the problem?
Yeah, a pitchfork, a 2 pokey part,
a 2 pokey part pitchfork.
Prongs.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I give up. We give up. We give up on it. I'm bringing back a fork.
Yeah, just a fork.
Just to make everyone's lives easier.
That's not a bad pick.
No, it's not.
I don't think it would. It's very, very basic, but I don't think it would blow minds too much.
I don't think it would blow their minds, but I think literally everybody would be like, "Oh, you know what? Why didn't we think of that?" You know, that's probably fair. A good thing to.
I just took way less time and money to make a 2-prong one, and it does the job.
Yeah, you got to think you got some guy named fucking Sal or something just, you know, slaving away at the blacksmith table just to make a fork. It takes him a whole day to make a fork. You know, you're not gonna throw 4 tines on that bitch when you gotta do all day. You know, spend all day doing it.
Yeah, but at that point, you wouldn't think that's something you would make like a mold for and just kind of like dump some hot metal in there.
Like they had molds in the 1500s.
I don't know.
No, they definitely had molds. That's how they made swords and shit.
Listen, I didn't know you were an expert on 16th century blacksmithing.
Bro, I've seen Game of Thrones like 3 times, so I'm basically a historian.
That movie came out show came out in the 2000s.
I thought you were making a joke calling it a movie. Like I thought you were
also thought you were making a joke.
No, I was making a mistake.
All right, so fork for Brandy. All right, so now I have my wraparound. So I have 3 that are kind of like on the sillier side that I think are safe. So I think I got to take the other seriousness or the other serious one rather right now to make sure that doesn't get picked. The problem is I'm kind of torn between a couple serious ones. I am going to say, sure, let's go with magnets.
Ooh.
Let's go with. I'm not sure. Joe's making a face. I'm not sure why. Are magnets old? Like I didn't like. I don't think they had like magnets back then.
Like just
I
like
don't
a
think.
fridge magnet.
Like they like they had
like the state of Ohio, and you're like, check.
They had magnetic objects, obviously, but they didn't have like magnets. I don't think anybody's walking around with the like the horseshoe from like the Wile E. Coyote cartoons, like the horseshoe magnet. Like
I'm fact checking right now. Magnetism was discovered in ancient Greece in about 600 BC.
Yeah,
1,000 years ago.
No, that's fine. I'm not saying they didn't have magnetic stuff but I'm talking about bringing like an actual like powerful magnet, like where you literally just walk around like picking up metal shit, like with a magnet. Like I'm pretty sure that would still apply. Like I don't think they had magnets as in like tool form 500 years ago. I think it was just like random magnetic shit stuck together and they didn't know why, but like I don't think they knew how to harness that power.
Yeah, they did because they had compasses back then.
Yeah, but again, that's not like magnet. Like that's not like the other part of that equation isn't like right in front of them. The magnet is just pulling the compass. It's not like they took a magnet and like picked something metal up with it and it like stuck to it and they were like, "Whoa, that's magic." Like that's the kind of magnet I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. You're with a compass. You're talking about like magnetism. You're talking about like a magnetic object. I'm talking about actual magnets.
Well, no, man. This one's tough, but
we're gonna have to let the people decide. They'll have to,
Nobody voted for Mike. He didn't research.
I'm telling you, I don't think they had like actual physical magnets in like tool form. I think they had magnetic objects and like magnetic metals and stuff that they understood that like, oh, my compass works because the pole is pulling the magnet. But like, I don't think they were walking around picking stuff up with magnets. I think that would blow people's mind if I did that.
All right. Well, nonetheless.
But either way, we'll move on past the magnets. That's the pick. It might suck. If it sucks, don't vote for me. But that's the pick. So
I actually think that the Insane Clown Posse invented magnets.
That is very possible.
Sorry? Why is that? Why would that be?
No, there's no questions about the Insane Clown Posse.
Right,
you just accept it.
All right. Google Insane Clown Posse magnets.
No, thank you.
All right.
Multiple items.
I'm going to move on to my fun ones. So I saved these because I don't think we're going to have any overlap. So I think if I went back in time and gathered a bunch of people around me and I brought them in real close and I said, "Will I ever find true love?" And then I shook really hard. And that magic 8-ball brought me the answer. I think people would lose their shit. Like that, especially the ones where the answer just kind of like materializes. It's not like the real thick one. It just kind of materializes out of the goop, that's inside. Like that would think about like any movie where like think about any movie where there's like some kind of like wizardry like that and they're like, where it's like a magic mirror or like, something like that. And like the answer appears.
No, they didn't have mirrors. They didn't have
That's true. Well, I did say movie to be fair, but like if I materialized, if I asked a question to this magic 8-ball, like this inanimate round object, if I asked a question and it gave me an actual answer, again, I'd probably get burned at the stake, which is what I was kind of going for with my answers. That people would lose their minds. They think I was like a freaking wizard.
Well, I mean, fortune tellers also existed.
Yeah, but they didn't have props like that.
Yeah, no, that's why I was just thinking this whole time, like, how would a fortune teller react to seeing you do that thing?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like
I gotta have it. Because was it all gimmicks at that point, or is that just like modern day fortune?
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. It has always been and will always be gimmicks. They are all gimmicks. There are no real psychics.
Maybe anything's possible.
Like on this one. It's cool to think about. but I digress.
So that is my second pick. That's the kind of going into now more of like the silly. It's definitely still very basic, but now we're going into like the silly basic stuff, not like actual useful tools. Although I would argue that a Magic 8 Ball would probably be a very useful tool back then, because I could probably get into being like a very important person. Like if they chose not to burn me at the stake, then I would immediately become like the right hand of the king if they thought I could like predict the future.
Sure, but then when you're wrong, then they behead you.
That's why you have to do like psychics nowadays, and you have to like lead the direction, lead the topic in the direction of like where you can't be wrong. It's like just vague, like your next battle will be by a body of water, and like how the psychics always tell the police that the body is by water.
Yeah,
and then they're like, oh my god, we found it next to the lake. It's like, yeah, we live in northern Michigan. There's lakes everywhere.
Somebody found a bucket of water in the next room.
Yeah, right. They were killed in a bathroom. All right, so Magic 8 Ball after Magnets, which is iffy. Brandy, your third pick.
Yeah, on par with the same feel of more fun and not so shocking. Well, not that it's not shocking. Another magic item that I believe might blow people's minds, depending on it's kind of iffy on the time period. But I would like to bring back with me a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser.
I like that one. That's good.
Can you imagine just these people trying to, like, maybe in a royal household, the maids like scrubbing away like Cinderella, just trying to get this one spot, and you just roll in and you're like, have you tried this? It would be the greatest thing that's ever happened to them. This is happening because I just used one for the first time in my adult life the other day at work, and it is the greatest thing I've ever laid hands on. I am mind blown.
Yeah, that's good. That's funny. I like that one a lot. That's really funny because I had that same thought of like basically like same thing I said, like they weren't able to get out of state or something. You walked in with that and did that, you'd immediately be like moved up into like the highest kind of position that you could attain in that line of work, because this is the magic
also
cleaner.
Maybe immediately get stoned to death.
Yeah, sure. It's definitely up there. I mean, let's be real. If there's not at least a 30% chance of getting killed for what you're doing, it's probably not mind-blowing enough for the podcast. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a chance of death for it to fit the topic. Because that's what they did back then.
Fair enough.
That's what they did. Like, if it was something they didn't understood, they killed you. They weren't like, oh, let's figure out why this is happening, or like, let's get to the bottom of this. They're like, there was no Scooby-Doo. Like, they were like, no, we're just going to kill you. Like, we don't understand this thing. You must die.
It needs to go away. I need to not think about it anymore, so I need to remove it from the existence.
Born with two colored eyes, you must die. That was basically the extent of scientific method back then. It was like the flow chart. You ever see, do we understand it? You go this way for yes, and it says great, and you go this way for no, and it says kill them. Like death. Oh, that's good though. I like that Magic Eraser. That's solid. All right, Joe picks 3 and 4 from you.
Yeah. So I was thinking about something super basic, like clothing, and I was trying to figure out a way to incorporate that, because obviously people wore clothes back then, but they were very different. And I thought about something super common today that we've had for a long time, that would probably blow their minds because it would have seemed impossible to be created. And that is like shirts with like a pattern printed on them. Like something ridiculous. Like some people have ones with like pizza, or like actual photographs of people, like ones that are just like extremely realistic.
Sure.
Photographs of people or items, just a very, decorative printed shirt. They would be like, oh my God. Like, because if you think about it, everything was 500 years ago, whatever, was hand stitched. And, probably took for freaking ever to make. And they couldn't do these designs that they do nowadays with, the materials they have. So I think it would probably blow their minds. It would probably be something that they would think that like you are the richest person on earth by having a shirt that was worn by Guy Fieri.
Yeah, I was gonna say, which that image alone is hilarious of somebody just rolling up like Guy Fieri.
When
everyone in awe of that man.
Oh.
When you started explaining it, I thought you were gonna say like as your example, like an ugly Christmas sweater, like with like a big pattern on it, something like that.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be easier to do something like that because it's thicker.
No, I think yours was better. I agree. I think you went a better direction, especially when you brought in like having like actual pictures on it. Some people get pictures of like their family or something on the back if it's like a family event or something like that. And I think that you're right. Like, because there's no way they would be able to do that back then. Like, because if it was like, say, I don't know why this is the first thing that popped in my head, but say it was like you had like a little piece of cheese on it, like a little like picture of cheese. Like, they could, in theory, do that back then. Like you said, it would take a bajillion years. But like, if you had a picture of like people in like good clarity, then yeah, that would blow their friggin' minds. Like they would have no idea how you did that. So that's good. I like that. That's a solid one. I didn't think of anything like that. All right, so pick number 4.
Yeah, so I was gonna save it to the end, but just in case one of you were thinking the same thing, I'm gonna take this now because I really wanted it. When you pose this question to us, as well as when you pose it to the audience in the beginning of this podcast, you particularly use the words blow your mind. And I keep referencing that because, I think that's really important as far as the prompt goes. And so this kind of goes along with the mystical, the magical. And I think this would make you a very popular person to have around back then, because drugs have existed forever, but LSD hasn't. I think bringing LSD back and giving it to a bunch of like 15th century, migrant farm workers or whatever would make you a pretty popular guy, and they would, you could impress the aristocracy and all that stuff.
I have to say, I think you're definitely right, and I think that would also definitely create like a big problem, because if anything I've been led to believe about like peasant life and stuff is correct, every single person would immediately be hooked on LSD. Because if your life was like,
right? LSD's not addictive.
No, but what I'm saying is like, if you were a peasant back then and you were throwing your poop out the window and like into the streets and like and like that was your life, and you were eating like this mush oatmeal and like bread every day, and then you had the chance to take LSD. Like, I'm not even a drug person. Like, I've never even done LSD. But, like, if you could take LSD and, like, see freaking sounds and, like, stuff like that instead of, like, throwing your poop out the window and eating mush oatmeal every day, I feel like you would do it. I feel like every day you'd be like, all right, how quickly can I get high on LSD? Or, like, whatever you call it for LSD.
Makes you a pretty popular guy.
No, I agree. I think that's a pretty good... just all around concept. Like, it's a good pick, but I meant even more than that.
Figuratively and literally.
Sure. I was wondering where you were going to go because obviously I knew it was going to be something with your mind when you were talking about blowing your mind and like, being on that. But I was wondering where you were going to go. But yeah, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Like I said, I think you'd have a lot of 16th century peasants like super hooked on LSD. Like, not even, like I said, not even for the addictive thing, because it's, as far as I'm aware, it's not addictive. Just because, like, you could either see all these pretty colors and, like, cartoony type animals and stuff, or you could eat mush meal and blacksmith all day.
I don't actually know if that's what LSD does, but it's certainly portrayed that way in movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't know either.
That's my only knowledge basis.
That's my only reference.
That's what I'm going with.
Pink elephants and like the dancing lobsters from the Amanda Show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. And here's the thing: it would also make anything if in this situation we're bringing all of these things back at once to show them all 5 of our picks.
Sure,
it's gonna amplify the reaction to the rest of the picks.
That's fair.
So LSD.
They pick up Brandy's fork and they're like, "Oh!"
They're absolutely mind blown by my fork. It did its job.
That's funny. All right. Speaking of which, Brandy, go ahead and make your fourth pick.
Yeah. My fourth pick, not as exciting as LSD. Sorry.
What is?
But yeah, you know what? You're right. Mushrooms. So I've decided to go with, especially because I feel like in the time period, there were much more people generally that had long hair. And
Sure.
I want to bring back elastic hair ties because I'm sure you have not personally done it to yourself, but trying to tie your hair up with anything that is not a hair tie is an absolute nightmare. It's never the right tightness. It's always sliding around, sliding out. It's very uncomfortable.
Are we not doing phrasing?
Ribbon. God. I walked right into that one.
You did. I mean, I couldn't. Joe got
into that one.
Joe got his phrasing before. I had to hit you with that one. I mean, that was it was so on the nose.
Yeah, I don't even want to speak anymore. I have to think back about what I just said.
So funny enough, I wasn't actually gonna pick it because it was probably my sixth. It was probably, if one of my other ones got stolen, it was gonna be there. But I actually have scrunchie on my list. It's probably number 6 on my list.
Because I had rubber band, and I think that's close enough that
I also have rubber band on my list.
Yeah.
I have rubber band and scrunchie, so we had like a little triangle overlap there.
Yeah, I wish I had picked that now. I don't think anyone was picking LSD now that I think about it. But...
Yeah.
Oh well.
No, I was not picking LSD.
I didn't want someone picking just any drug.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, as evidence that I have both rubber band and scrunchie on my list, and Joe had rubber band, I would say, yeah, an elastic hair tie is probably a pretty good pick.
I feel like that could also be used as rubber band purpose. Especially, I was thinking about hair more specifically because I'm sure they had all types of problems with their hair or whatever. But you've also probably never tried to put a rubber band in your hair, and that is a nightmare.
Sure.
So
yeah, rubber band.
I used to have long hair.
Rubber band, it was much lower. That was like a real true backup in case we had a lot of overlap. I definitely would have went scrunchie first, so I agree with you on that front.
Yeah.
And I had that same exact thought of women with just crazy long hair just being like, oh my God, this is so annoying. Because I'm sure the only people that actually did things with their hair were the nobility, because they had servants to spend 10 minutes tying their hair with a yarn or something, Whereas peasants with women with literally 4 foot long hair, because they didn't cut it or anything, they would have loved if they could just pop it up into a ponytail or something. So
start up in a messy bun.
Exactly, good old messy bun.
Can't messy bun with a thread, a yarn.
Exactly.
A ribbon, whatever they used. I don't know. I didn't do that much research. I just know that they didn't have hair ties.
All right, so I will wrap up my draft then with picks 4 and 5. Like I said, I'm kind of in the silly department. I liked for this. So my fourth pick will be a Newton's cradle. So for anyone that's not aware what that is, it's the little metal balls that you flick and then they click back and forth and they never stop due to the laws of physics. So Joe, stop Googling that. They did not have a Newton's cradle 500 years ago because it's named after Newton, who was not alive 500 years ago.
I'm just going to check.
I'm pretty sure.
I was just Googling if they actually never stop or if there's a point where they slow down.
No. They don't actually ever stop. That's the whole point is they straight up do not ever stop. They would go on forever if you left them.
All right. It seems that they were named after Isaac Newton.
Oh, who would have guessed?
Well, I knew
I
knew that they were, but I didn't know that they were necessarily invented after his lifetime. I thought they might have just been renamed, but apparently they were not. And Newton was around in the 1600s, so you're good here. Yeah,
there you go. See? Solid. So I feel like at first they'd be like, okay, what's the big deal? And then I started clicking them, and then they didn't stop, and then they'd be like, how are you doing that? Have we found perpetual energy? Do we have a new overlord? What's happening here?
And you're like, nope, it's just a dumb toy for your office desk.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would pretend to be their new overlord. I would be like, yeah, I control energy. That's me.
Until they find out they can't do anything with
it. Yeah. So
hiding for the rest of your life, or bring out some LSD.
Get everybody to forgive you. So yeah, Newton's Cradle. So then the last one, I knew I could save this for last because I knew nobody would even think to pick this. So this, I went real silly, but it would blow their minds for sure. So have you guys ever seen the origami frogs?
Yeah.
So you know how you poke the back of them and they do a hop. So there is a way to do that on a timer. You can do like a time release for that. I've seen it done. It was in a TV show that I watched. So then I Googled it and you can actually do it. You take like you can do it with like a little toothpick or a little something, but it has to do with like the pressure. You like roll it in and then do the origami. So anyway, you can do it so that there's literally like a 5 to 10 second delay on the hop. So you make the little origami frog and they're like, oh, he folded a piece of paper. What's the big deal? And then you like leave it completely alone for 10 seconds and it hops. And they're just like, oh my God, he brought that to life. That's incredible. Like, and they like lose their shit. Granted, it really only works like one at a time because you can't make the same one hop a second time, like without touching it again,
Yeah.
But like, I feel like it would still be effective to blow their minds because they're going to have no idea why that's happening. They're not going to know why this inanimate, because they didn't have paper back then. They had parchment, but they didn't have, like I'm saying, if you made it with like notebook paper or something, they didn't have that. So they don't know why this thing is. Yeah. See, Joe made a little origami frog.
But I made out a Post-it note, so it's not great, but
it's also not on a time delay, so not as cool.
But it's still cute.
It is a cute little origami frog. So yeah, Newton's Cradle and origami jumping frog are going to round out my draft. So we'll go ahead and go to Brandy to finish off her draft.
Yeah, I also still don't have anything super fun here, but I was just thinking about things that are more so like everyday stuff, useful, and that would make people go, oh wow, why didn't we think of that? Why do we not already have that? So I'm going with something. I'm gonna take deodorant.
Okay.
Like just bringing back deodorant because those people were smelly as hell. They're just smelly, And like it's impossible to bathe that much. They don't have air conditioning. Like I imagine in the heat of summer, just bringing back some deodorant, being like, put it on, see what happens. People would immediately be like, wow, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
If you're a person that cares about smells, which I imagine most people do.
Sure.
But yeah. I've met a few that don't.
This is that's actually not a common conversation in our household, but like every once in a while, it's like a random thought that I bring up. Is I joke with my wife, like, imagine how much like hooking up must have sucked like 500 years ago. Everybody's like dirty and gross and like everything smells, like everything stinks. Like it couldn't have even really been like a fun thing to do to like pass the time because it's like
nose blind to things. You know what I mean?
I guess. Yeah, I guess you have to at that point, really.
Yeah, I guess if everybody, like, that's just the common thing. You're just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to do it, and it's going to stink.
And everyone had, like, cattle and stuff like that. Everyone was a farmer at, some point.
Are you talking about hooking up with cattle? Because I don't...
Yeah.
I don't think that's a thing.
No.
So I will say... Yeah, I will say that random side note, side thought is that I kind of wish we gave ourselves like team names for this draft now. Not this specific one, just for in general, because Brandy's team name should definitely be like the Millennial or something like that, because she is completely self-deprecating on before every pick Brandy makes. She's like, yeah, this pick kind of sucks, but I'm going to make it anyway. Like, it's pretty terrible. Like, I'm kind of an idiot, but I don't,
That's just how I function.
So Brandy would definitely be team Millennial for her straight up self-doubt and self-deprecation. I'm waiting.
I mean, I love all of my picks, and you should vote for them. They're great. They're phenomenal picks. Well, because I have to follow up. You're like, I have this fun thing. I'm bringing Newton's cradle to blow everyone's minds. And then I'm like, I'm trying to make people smell better.
I mean, to be fair, that just means I'm a silly idiot. It doesn't mean it's actually fun and good. It just means that I'm a dummy who's amused by simple things. But no, I do. I think deodorant's a great pick. I would not have been self-deprecating about it because I think it's a fantastic pick. So that's a very strong way to, I think that's something that could potentially be like a first round pick. So I think it's a very strong way to round out your draft. So, all right, Joe, bring us home. Last pick of the draft.
Man, I still have so many, honestly, that I thought there was going to be more overlap.
You over-prepared?
I actually over-prepared for this one.
This is a ridiculously serious first. Everybody who's listening is witnessing history.
History. In the making here. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to go with...
Decisions.
I'm going to go with a tabloid magazine.
Okay.
For a couple reasons. One, people nowadays look very different than people back then.
Sure.
And I think just seeing futuristic people and things in that magazine would be mind-blowing. I also think that the paper itself would be mind-blowing because, as you said, paper as it existed in the BC times up until the past 100, 200 years was very different.
Quick question, though, before you get too far from people. So I have a slight problem with this pick because you said you're bringing tabloids and then people in the tabloids. However, in round 2, I believe it was, you already picked plastic. So, or round 1. So I feel like plastic and the people in tabloid magazines.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I think that's too much overlap.
You're making a dad joke. Good job.
It took a minute, but you got there.
Yes.
Come on, you didn't think I could end my dad life with the Jurassic puns? I needed to follow that up with,
Jurassic Spark. Jurassic Mark.
You don't even want to know. You don't even want to know how long it took me to decide on those as the puns,
no.
and how many puns I went over in my head that could fit into.
Yeah.
I was trying to. The first thing I did was I was trying to find a word like synonymous with like army or navy or anything, like even like an old timey word that was kind of sort of like park or like rhymed with it or anything like that, and I couldn't find anything. And I spent like at least 15 minutes trying to Google all military related words because I was talking about like dinosaur armies. So I wanted like a Jurassic, army, like instead of park, but I couldn't find a word that really worked. I spent a good deal of time on that, I'll have you know. But anyway, back to Joe's tabloids.
All right, so like I said, they're going to see people and things that they've never seen before. The quality of the paper is going to be so much different, and the printing back then was very primitive. The printing press had not yet been invented, and so it was very disorganized and messy. So I just think seeing something so perfectly printed and so flashy and because they basically tabloids are meant to catch your eye. Nowadays, when we have all these distractions,
sure,
they really want you to care about Bruce Willis and Demi Moore breaking up when you're going to check out for groceries. And for some reason I just named something that happened.
What year is it?
20
what
years ago.
year is it?
I've been thinking about that Bruce Willis movie recently, Unbreakable.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Terminator.
I don't even know the state of that.
Sorry.
that wasn't Bruce Willis?
All right. Yeah. Nope.
No.
He wasn't the one that said "Honey, I Shrunk the Kids"?
That was Vic Moranis.
This is getting worse.
This is getting worse.
I can't do this anymore.
No, that's good. I like tabloids. That's. Well, I don't like tabloids, but I like it as a pick. That's definitely something I think that would they'd be very confused.
That would definitely blow their minds.
The frog likes it. So I had, as we just wrapped up, some of kind of my reserve picks. Like I said, I had rubber band, scrunchie. We had some overlap there. I had ballpoint pen because,
I had pencil.
Yeah, sure. That worked. No, that works too. Definitely pencil works because I'm pretty sure at that time still all they had was like a quill and ink.
Or like charcoal.
Sure. Yeah. And then I had the only other one that was... Oh, actually, no. Sorry. That was... We had the couple over... Oh, no, sorry. I messed one in the middle. I had a bicycle. Did they have... I don't think they had bicycles that early, right? I know bicycles are older than we think, but I don't think they had them that long ago, right?
I don't think they had them that.
I got a
that
Google
long
machine.
ago.
Hold on a second.
They had like... I know they had wheels, obviously. Like, they had chariots and, carts and stuff. But I don't think... Because I'm pretty sure... Isn't there like
actually, 1418.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I stand corrected. I was thinking... Sure. I was thinking of... There's some really crappy movie. It might be like Knight's Tale or something. I'm pretty sure where somebody goes back in time to like the medieval ages and makes a bicycle and like blows people's minds.
Did you just refer to The Knight's Tale as a really crappy movie?
I mean, it depends on... I mean, crappy is almost like a good thing. I mean it as like a, like a nostalgia crappy. Like... I always get the two confused. Which one was The Knight's Tale? That was...
A Knight's Tale was with Heath Ledger.
Okay, which was the one with Martin Lawrence?
William Thatcher. Not A Knight's Tale.
What was that movie called?
I don't remember the one. I know there was one with Martin Lawrence where he goes back in time and into the medieval age. That one's actually kind of funny. It's really stupid, but it's pretty funny.
Black Knight?
Okay.
Black Knight, yeah.
So I gotta be honest. I thought that was the name. I wasn't willing to say it without knowing for sure.
You didn't want to commit to it.
Yeah, I was not going to commit to that.
I also was like, even by Googling it.
Well, because all I pictured in my head was me being like, oh, I'm pretty sure it was like Black Knight, and then it was like the name of the movie was like Night Tale 2, and then I'm like, ooh, yikes! gotta
not a good look.
Gotta heavy edit this podcast now.
That would have been terrible.
But that one was funny. That one was a silly, funny movie. But so that was our going back in time and blowing people's minds with drugs and simple pieces of basic, machinery and what's the word? Mechanicalness, I guess. I don't know what I was going for there, to be honest.
Items.
I'm surprised no one did telescope. That was on my list, but since I did mirror already, I didn't want to do telescope.
No, I think telescope was really early.
Telescope is older than you think. Yeah.
No,
okay, 1600s.
Yeah, it was literally just after this time.
Sure.
I was going to say, I think it was at that time period.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that was putting it too close.
Sure.
I
thought one thing I thought of that was funny because it's kind of along Joe's line with the tabloid a little bit was like a typewriter, because it's not too advanced. You just hit the key and it pushes the shape with the ink into the paper, so it's not like crazy advanced. And I think that people would have been like, oh my goodness, like this is so much easier to write our horrible, terrible stories about killing people and stuff. Just makes it a whole lot easier.
What else did I think? I thought about, I almost did Pez dispenser or like gumball machine or something that like procures an item.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Those machines where you put the quarter in and then all the lights and buzzers go off the whole way while it spins down into the bottom.
I gotta be honest. If I went back in time, if we were doing something to blow people's minds, that's different. But if they were saying like you go back in time and you could just bring stuff, I would totally bring all like the base level magician things, like
thought about that,
like the hat you pull the rabbit out of, or like the box that you can with the mirror in it that you could like disappear behind, and like that stuff. Like I would just become the world's like shittiest magician. I mean the best magician ever at that time, but like I would only do like the most base level like tricks that little kids figured out 50 years ago, like
I literally, after you did Magic 8 Ball, I thought about like a My First Magician set specifically. Like
I have one.
That back,
I had like 50
close?
of those as a kid. I had my first and my second and my 38th, and
I have one. I got it for my birthday this year. I love magic. I straight up it's not like a little kid's like My First Magic thing, but it's like there's like 50 magic tricks that you can do with like the, you know, half a dozen things it provides you with. But like, I love magic. I'm super into magic. It's a good time. I am one of the few people I know. This might be true for a lot of people. I'm not saying like I'm special or anything. I'm just saying anecdotally, like out of the people that I know, I am one of the only people that I know that does not want to know how any magic trick is done. I
never want to know.
Yeah, so like that's I figured it wasn't like that unique. It's just kind of unique to the people I know, I guess. But I hate finding out how magic tricks are done. Like I want to be amazed. That's the whole point. Like I want to be astounded. I want to have my mind blown. Like there's so little like wonder left in the world that just give me a little bit. Like don't spoil it.
Sorry, so let me get this right. You want to be fooled by magic, but refuse to be fooled by fortune telling.
Well, that's different. Magic is being illusioned into fun. Psychics are being lied to for money.
Yeah.
That's more
fair.
In all seriousness, not to get like too serious on the podcast, but my main issue with like psychics and mediums, if they just did it for like silly shows and stuff, I'd have no problem with that. My issue with mediums and psychics is when they venture into like getting into like heavy emotional stuff with people, and then they're just like manipulating people. Because I know people and I've heard of people that have spent like thousands of dollars going to like mediums and stuff because they think they're still talking to like their loved one that passed away, and to me that's really fucked up. Like that's when you cross into like so if you want to go to a psychic and they tell you, oh, I heard you're going on or I know you're going on a vacation, or like silly stuff like that, like I don't care about that. That's whatever. But when you're like emotionally manipulating people into continuously giving you money, that's what I have the issue with. And that's why, I don't like those. Which is why, magicians, they don't do that. It's not like you get emotionally addicted to a magician where you're like, you turn up to like open mic night on a Friday night. You're like, take my money, please. I need to get in, please. Like you're freaking buying scalp tickets at like the open mic night for like $300.
I don't know. It sounds like you're 2 magic sets away from being that guy.
Oh, I'm close. I freaking love that. Magic is so much fun. So much fun. I'm a big fan of Penn and Teller's show on CW11. Fool Us. That's a good time. But all right, so we are right around the hour mark again, which seems like a good time to wrap up. So thank you guys for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to go ahead and drop us a 5-star rating on whatever device or whatever medium that you're using to listen to us, that would be awesome. We'd really appreciate it. As always, if you have an idea, shoot me an email at ridiculouslyseriousPodcast@gmail.com. Again, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will see you next week.